Hi everyone, it's me, Danielle. I haven't been on in a while. I've been busy integrating and I'm getting ready for to be a speaker at a paranormal convention. And so I'm making some, they're wooden paintings that I do and I put a resin coat on them and stuff. I've also been making a bunch of my feather fans. I've got four of them ready to go for the paranormal convention. And aside from that, I've been integrating some downloads and it's been pretty intense. So I've just been taking my time, so it just takes as long as it takes. I had a really good question on one of my videos. I think it was the last one I uploaded. Somebody wanted to hear more about my experiences with communicating with people on the other side. And they had a specific question about how our loved ones help us from that side. I've got a lot of different things that have happened over the years, and I know that I've talked about some of the stuff on other videos, like probably right when it happened. And I was also sharing about a spirit guide artwork I had finished. Then I would say like, oh, and by the way, this and that happened with my dad or whoever. Um, but I haven't made a video with a lot of just that one topic. So I made some notes, which I've got on the side of my screen, so I try not to forget anything. Um, First person that was like very, very close to me that I lost was my stepdad about 10 years ago. Um, right after he passed, I stepped out of the room and I tried to use my cell phone to call my ex-husband and let him know. And I didn't hear him on the phone. I didn't hear him answer. But what I did hear, it sounded like the death rattle breathing that my stepdad had just been doing. And I tried to listen like really, really hard into that noise because I just felt like somehow he was trying to communicate from the other side, and it just kind of scared me. And I thought, well, if he's trying to communicate with me, this is not what he's trying to communicate. So I hung up. I redialed my ex-husband, and he answered, and I heard him. And I asked him if he heard what he heard, and he said it sounded like static or you know a bad connection or something like that. But so he heard it too. It was pretty eerie. Another thing, well, I mean, right when he passed, I tried to get in my car. My mom and I, my daughter, we were gonna leave the house and just go to my stepbrother's for a while and just get out of that, environment. But my car didn't even make it to the end of the road because the battery was unplugged. And we had a lot of stuff like that happen that day and immediately, like maybe the first 6 months, our garbage disposal was unplugged under the sink. Lots of things broke. A lot of electronics broke. So it was pretty crazy. I also received a text message in my phone. Now, my stepdad didn't write or compose a text message, but it's like he copied and pasted one that I had received before that was an answer to something that I was saying. But the weird thing about that is that I had gotten a new phone since I received that text message. So I couldn't access that message if I tried. It didn't save my old text messages. Another thing that happened is I felt touching on my eyebrow. So when my stepdad was alive, we used to always pretend we were like straightening our eyebrows and like really just be flipping each other off, and it was just in fun. We had a relationship like that, where we were pretty sarcastic with each other, but like so that's what we would do without saying anything is just fix our eyebrows. But so I was getting my eyebrow fixed, and I'm like, I knew it was him, which was really funny. And then one time I fell asleep, and I don't remember my dreams normally, but it's like I had just fallen asleep and I had instantly gotten lucid. I was looking through this doorway and I saw my stepdad sitting at a table wearing a white gown. He had let his hair grow out. It was still gray. He didn't, decide to be younger like a lot of people do. His hair was growing out, and he saw me. He was sitting at a long table, and there were other tables and other people sitting at the other tables. And he had like stacks of paper. And he looked up and he saw me and he started laughing. He goes, "That's my daughter. That's my daughter." Like he was pointing to the other people so they would know who I was. And I got really excited. I thought, oh my God, this is so cool. I get to hang out with my stepdad tonight. Now, he had gone into the light. This was in like the astral city, I think it's called, but it's in the light. He went in like a long time ago. Um, but I got emotional and I snapped back to body and woke up. So when you get emotional and you're out of body and you're lucid like that, you'll snap back to body. So that was a lot of the experiences that I had with my stepdad. Now, when my dad passed, I want to say more like 8 years ago, at first I noticed, well, A, it didn't seem like he was visiting me at all. I was so, upset, mourning, grieving, crying. And, grief would come in these waves, right? Where you just feel like so sad. Um, so I just didn't feel like my dad was coming around. But I go to this restaurant that has a jukebox, and I remember the first time, some of his favorite songs were coming on the jukebox, and I was thinking, oh, this makes me think of my dad. He loved this song, but I didn't like think that he was playing the songs because they were popular songs like House of the Rising Sun by the Animals was one, Hotel California by the Eagles, very popular. But it did make me think about him. And then I was there one time with my daughter, and there was a string of songs coming on that were, his favorite songs. But one of them was more obscure. It was Long Tall Woman in a Black Dress by the Hollies. And it was, bracketed by all these songs that were his favorite songs. And I was like, man, I feel like my dad took over the jukebox. And my daughter, who sees way better than me, she said, "Oh yeah, he's with us. He's sitting next to you in the booth." Um, so after that, I said, when it's a really common song, I might think that, anyone in the restaurant picked it. But when it's more obscure, but I know he liked it, and in fact, that song in particular, he has told me was his favorite all-time song, then I think, oh, maybe he picked this one. So after that, he started playing a little bit more obscure songs that uh, I would know it was him all the time. And what's funny is my stepdad basically learned to do that as well. So I would go to that same restaurant and somewhere over the rainbow by Iz would play, the Hawaiian song. Definitely makes me think of him. Free Falling, Tom Petty, but my stepdad would play other versions like by covers. So it was pretty cool. Um, so my dad does that a lot, and I think a lot of people do get songs played for them. In fact, my friend was just texting me this morning that somebody who recently passed, one of her friends, was putting on the radio his actual band's music, and so she knew he was in the car. Um, and my daughter, she was going with her boyfriend to the cemetery to visit his dad's grave. And my daughter, she's got Spotify like me. She had downloaded her playlist from Spotify onto her cell phone, and she was going to the cemetery, and there was no cell phone reception there. So she was playing it from her downloaded playlist on her phone. And as she was approaching the cemetery with her car, it started playing songs that are not on her playlist, not downloaded on her phone. And they were funny songs, but they were ones that her boyfriend's dad liked. songs about entering the graveyard or being in the dirt or underground that like they were kind of funny. But so she noticed that he had been playing songs on her phone. But I mean, this is without even cell phone reception, so it's very interesting. Another thing, another way that my dad has contacted me is by hanging out with me in my dreams. And like I said, I don't remember a ton of dreams, but sometimes I will wake up remembering that I was shooting pool with my dad and my grandpa. One time we were cruising around in an old El Camino, which we didn't own an El Camino, but my dad was a Chevy guy. Just not even talking, just cruising around and hanging together. But one time I was waking up and my eyes were still closed and my hand was like by my head, but I felt in my hand the warmth. I felt somebody was holding my hand. And I just laid there with my eyes closed and I could feel the warmth and, just the contact, when your hand's being held. So I opened my eyes and I looked at my hand, and my hand was like, it was in this shape, like it was so strange. I didn't feel it anymore because I had fully woken up, but it was so real. It was so like he not only was in my dream, but he was also there holding my hand at the same time. Um, After that point, my dad did he went into the light, he merged with his higher self. Um, he was he was at my shaman appointment when he said he would go into the light. I saw him walk into the light with my third eye. I saw him walk in, looking back like, bye, tearful goodbye. And then 30 seconds later, he was back. He was done. He, you know, did his life review, everything, merged with his higher self. Um, since then, I've seen him. His higher self is a green dragon, so sometimes I see him as him, and sometimes I see a green dragon, and I know it's him. One time in particular, I was driving my car and I was feeling like gagging, like something was trying to take over my throat. It makes me gag when somebody tries to talk through me. Um, and then my vision got so weird. It was so blurry for like an hour. But when I closed my eyes, I could see a green dragon. So I knew it was my dad. So I was taking my mom to a doctor appointment, and my dad wanted to come along. He had some stuff he wanted to say. And even though, like, maybe he doesn't take over my throat, it's like I knew what he wanted to say. And in fact, my mom knew what he wanted to say. Like, she was finishing my sentences. Um, I did. It's so crazy because my eyes were blurry for like an hour while I was adjusting to the energy. But after I had adjusted, I could see clearer than my eyes see. Like, I think my eyes are like 20/30. I don't need to wear glasses for distance. But, you can tell like the mountains are not crispy clear. Um, but while my dad was with me like that, um, I could see the mountains very clear. So it was pretty cool. And that happened again just last week again with the vision. So I knew somebody was jumping in. I didn't even look to see who. Um, Now I had a very good friend pass away, and her name was Laura. And right before she passed away, we had hung out. We had this ongoing argument, like I like a certain Chardonnay, she likes a certain Sauvignon Blanc. So we would kind of make fun of each other's wines, the flavor. And she had been at my house, she had brought her Sauvignon Blanc, and I don't know, she didn't open it. So this bottle was in my fridge, and then she passed away. And I remember just talking out loud to her and saying, um, I took the wine out of the fridge and I took it around to the dining room where I have a wine rack, and I was like, I don't really know what to do with this terrible bottle of wine. And I put it in the wine rack, and I went out to dinner with a friend, and when I came home, that bottle had moved from the dining room into my living room, and it was sitting next to the couch on a side table, like on a coaster. So I feel like she was answering me like, drink it, which I didn't want to do. Um, I did end up bringing the bottle out um, another time. I was like thinking about watching a movie, and the thought of Lord of the Rings popped in my head, and I knew it was her because she was a big reader, loved fantasy, big reader. And so I knew it was her when the idea to watch Lord of the Rings popped in my head because I wasn't like that interested in those movies. And so I immediately was like, but I don't even care about that movie, and just talk to her like she's there. And I'd get up, I'd pour her a glass of wine. Um, I can kind of tell where she's sitting based on where my dogs are sitting on the couch. Like where if they leave a open spot, then I'll set the wine there. But so I start watching Lord of the Rings, which, it's like a week-long endeavor of watching it every night. Um, my dogs had moved on the couch, and so I was like, oh, maybe she moved. And I grabbed her wine and I moved it. So my daughter walks in, and I was like, yeah, Laura's here. We're watching Lord of the Rings. And I was like, so I'm wearing, jammies. And I was like, is she dressed comfortably in jammies, or is she dressed the way she used to always dress with these ridiculous high heels? And Morgan said, ridiculous high heels. And I said, well, I'm trying to figure out where to set her wine because, the dogs are moving. And so it's hard for me to tell where she's sitting. And Morgan said, she said not to worry. She'll move wherever I move the wine. So if your loved ones have a favorite drink, you can pour them a glass. You may or may not notice the level go down, but on their side, it's like they can drink it and it fills again. So it's kind of interesting how it works. But just so you know, they love it if you put a little of their favorite drink out, whatever that may be. And then so I'm watching the movie with her, and what happened? Oh, I said I wanted a snack, but I'm like trying to like be good and not eat snacks late at night and everything, try to drop 10 pounds. And so I said something to her like, man, I really want a snack, but I'm trying to behave and not eat, not eat anything. And she actually put a flavor in my mouth, which is so crazy. I've never experienced that before. But it was precisely a specific thing. It was like these spinach raviolis that I love in a marinara sauce from a place called Roasty, which I don't think I've ever gone to that restaurant with her when she was alive. I don't remember, but I don't know if we ever went there together. So the coolest interaction that I've ever heard of from the other side didn't happen to me. It happened to my cousin, but I will talk about it. So my cousin was a passenger in a truck, and she was having a diabetic low, like she needed a juice. And she told her husband, who was driving, to pull over so she can get juice out of the back of the truck. And she thought that he had pulled over because she was so loopy from having, low blood sugar, that while he was going 60 miles an hour, she opened her door and fell out of the truck. Now, she was about to be run over by the back end of the truck when an arm came out of nowhere. She saw the arm. It grabbed her body and it threw her off the road. I mean, kind of threw her a little too hard, really, because she hit on the side of the road. There was what is it called? Barbed wire. Her leg got stabbed with barbed wire. And she did get injured, but she didn't get run over. And I don't know if she would have survived getting run over. The truck is a big truck. So that was her dad's arm. Like, we know this. He has been an active spirit around her house. He even the door hinges, how they have that like pin that holds the door on, on the door frame. He took all the pins out of one of the doors and removed the door. So he's pretty physically strong, which is impressive, but how amazing. Like I think they know when we're about to have a really bad moment, and they can do stuff like this. It's amazing. So anyways, that's some of my stories I wanted to share about like loved ones, and I don't know, my experiences with them. I think it's important to understand that they are still there. You know what I mean? And if you hear, for example, a song and you think maybe it was played by somebody for you, whether they played it for you or they did not play it for you and it was just the DJ picked it, who knows? What's important is it doesn't matter. If that song makes you think about the person, they know that you're thinking about them and they usually come to you right then. And so either they're playing the song for you to let you know they're there, or you are thinking about them. And you know what I mean? Like the connections, um, they work both ways, really. People believe that they find a feather or a penny or a dime or um, they see a butterfly or a hummingbird. There's all these things that people go, oh, this was sent by somebody who I know. And like I'm saying, yes, that does happen. And even if they didn't send it, you thought about them and now the connection is there anyway. So pay attention. Like I said, grieving feels like it comes in these waves. I believe that that wave is actually them close to you. Your body, your unconscious self may know they're there, or your body recognizes their energy signature around you, and that's what you're feeling. That could be the way they're telling you that they're there. I don't think that the waves in of grief, I don't think it's random. Anyways, I'd love to hear what anyone else thinks, and their experiences. Write them in the comments. I want to hear how spirit has interacted with you, what you think about that feeling, the way, because everyone I've ever talked to has said that the grief comes in waves, but I don't know, that I think that I was so sad when my dad passed, that he had to go away and not visit me initially because I was reacting too much. My my aura turned gray, you know, and they can see that the sadness and the grief, it's like it's too much. So I think, sometimes they may keep some distance until, you can be visited and maybe it doesn't affect you so negatively. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's my opinions on it, and I'd love to hear anyone else's. And thank you so much for suggesting this topic. I haven't had any orders for guide art because, well, who knows why? Maybe the economy, but I feel like I was integrating downloads and I couldn't see so well anyways. So it would have been not a great time for me to receive orders. But I'm getting back on my feet. I'm seeing again. So I think everything's back in working order. And it's weird how it works like this, where when I need to spend more time tattooing at the shop, then, or I need to spend, then I won't get as many spirit guide orders. But if the shop dies down, then I need to work on my Oracle deck. It just, I think things come in these waves as I need them. So I just go with the flow. Anyway, I want to say thanks to everyone who took the time to watch this video. I haven't been posting as much because I've been busy, but also, um, I have covered a lot of topics already. So I feel like, I've got a good video library. I'm not really trying, I don't make money on YouTube doing this or anything. So I don't upload enough to really grow that many followers. But if people have topics that they want me to discuss, feel free to leave them in the comments and I will. And of course, if I have more spirit guide art or anything, I'm about to go to Roswell, New Mexico. So I'm going to go to the ET Museum. I've got some, another trip planned to Mount Shasta next month. So I've got some stuff, that I'm doing that I'm pretty excited about. Um, but otherwise, I will, address any questions as they come. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a beautiful day.